Those two team lineups. Mention the changes for Glentoran. So Webber continues in goal. It's a back three of McCullough, Keane and Aidan Wilson, of course. Russell's made left back his own. Clucas is fit enough to start in the middle, and the informed Fisher is joined by Junior up front. Jay Donnelly on the bench. For Cliftonville, no Luke Turner, of course. He moved on during the January transfer window, so it gives an opportunity for Luke Kenny, who has had his injury problems throughout this season. He joins that settled pair of Casey and Addis. McGuinness continues at wing back. Kearney is on the other side. Shea Gordon, fresh from his 90 minutes against Loughgall in the Irish Cup, retains his place in midfield. Gormley will partner Ronan Hale. And there's your match referee, Ben McMaster. What do you make of the two lineups? Colin, obviously plenty of changes in the Glentoran side, and it's all about consistency for Cliftonville, and why not when you're on that run?
Yeah, you know, Cliftonville's lineup, you probably could have guessed, you know, 90% of it, obviously with Luke Turner, you know, moving on a couple of weeks ago. There's always going to be question marks about who played in at the back, and it looks like Luke Kenny's just slotted into that sort of left side of the back three in place of Luke Turner. But yeah, so 90% of Cliftonville's teams, as you would expect. Glentoran have been forced into a few changes, you know, given injuries, as Warren touched on in his pre-match interview. But you know, even he was sort of bemoaning back these bit, you know, back to a light squad. And you're looking at his bench. He's got Shea McCartan, Jay Donnelly, Josh Kelly, Charlie Lindsay, Aaron Whiteman, Harry Murphy. It's not a bad bench, you know. So
it's a very attacking bench.
It is, yeah. And again, that probably is due to lack of defensive, you know, numbers through injuries. But it's still a quality Glentoran lineup.
McCullough plays it across to O'Connor, a former Cliftonville player, of course. And Junior's flick on is probably going to have too much on it for the young left-back Russell. He's made that position his own, his 19th straight start. Cliftonville on that fantastic run of form. They've won 11 of their last 12 league games. Lifted in, could fall for Fisher, didn't quite make the connection, and counter-attack could well be on for the visitors. Referee calls over for attention after the clash in the far side. It's Wilson, who has been in the wars recently. He's had his injury problems.
Yeah, I think he's just taken a bit of a stray boot to the head, accidental from, I think it was young Stephen McGuinness, went in for a 50-50, and he accidentally caught him on the head. And been a bright start, you know, Glentoran pressing early and balls into the box, and that'll be something I think they'll look for, you know, with the physicality of Junior and Fisher up front, you know, going up against Cliftonville's back three. You know, Luke Kenny's pretty inexperienced in this league, in this level of football, and you know, they maybe feel that they can get some joy by putting balls into the box. And on the flip side, when Cliftonville win it back, you can see that they're ready to spring on the counter-attack. And, you know, Ronan Hale and Joe Gormley are looking for that ball over the top.
There's a hush around the oval as Wilson slowly makes his way back onto his feet. Glentoran would hate to lose a player of his pedigree. Medical team just making sure everything's okay, and there's a concussion test, of course, going on. It's so important in today's game, and it's a mandate from the footballing authorities. You can see Warren Feeney's reaction. Spoke before the game about the difficulties he's had in terms of injuries, and there's been so much chopping and changing. No Marshall, of course, tonight. No Patrick McLean as well. He's in the stands alongside us. Gormley, the club captain, putting pressure on. He's been given a run on the side in the absence of Ben Wilson. Cliftonville going into tonight's game 5 points behind Linfield, 4 behind Larne. This is, of course, their match in hand. Real injection of pace from O'Connor. Opens up for O'Connor. Could this be the opening goal? Good strong hand from the Cliftonville goalkeeper, Odumosu. Signed permanently for North Belfast club during the January window, and that is exactly why.
Brilliant goalkeeping. I think it's Darragh O'Connor gets in down the right hand side, and Odumosu's out, closes the space down very, very quickly, and makes a great block. It's great goalkeeping, and Glentoran will be disappointed not to have taken that opportunity, but you can see he's out on him early. It's a great save, a big hand out to his right, and again, Cliftonville nearly got in on the counter-attack, so I think we're set up for an intriguing game. You know, Cliftonville have looked dangerous in those two counter-attacks, but obviously Glentoran have had the biggest chance of the game.
17 clean sheets in his last 25 games, 5 in his last 7. The Cliftonville goalkeepers really stood out, and that's why Jim Agilton was so keen to sign him permanently. Had joined initially on a season-long loan from St Pat's in Dublin, but that move was turned into a permanent one during the window. Hammered away by Kate. Kearney loses out. Sulek. Twisting and turning, but unfortunate not to find Russell. Glentoran 16 points behind Cliftonville. They've played one fewer game. They've scored 10 fewer goals and conceded 10 more than the North Belfast club as well. McGuinness looks for Gormley. Wilson back in action. Finds Clucas, who had been another injury doubt. Started 4 of the last 5 now, the experienced midfielder. Again, O'Connor puts the pressure on this time. Has a go with his left foot and it curls just wide.
I don't think that's too far away, Thomas. You know, he's shown his pace to nip in, win the ball back, and he's drove towards goal, and I don't think he's too far away here from finding the far corner.
Oh, I think you're right, looking at that angle. Started really brightly. Darragh O'Connor had that season at Solitude. 8 goals in 39 games before making the switch over to Scotland. He's not your conventional wing back. We're used to kind of seeing him playing more as an out-and-out winger, or as even in a front three, but that's where he's been utilised for Glentoran recently. And now the home side have won themselves a corner kick, and they've certainly started in the front foot.
Yeah, it's been a confident start, and you're just talking about Darragh O'Connor playing as a wing back, and I think, you know, against Cliftonville, he's up against 1v1 really against another man. You know, it might be different if he's playing against a 4-3-3 and he's got 2 men on that side. Might make it more difficult, but he's 1v1 against Stephen McGuinness.
Well, he's taken this corner kick, put into a really good area, and it's well defended by the visitors. I think it was Casey who ended up flicking it over.
Yeah, well, that's it. And the game's went into a wee bit of a lull at the minute, so it's maybe, you know, Glentoran have took their foot off the gas a wee bit, and then allow Cliftonville to get back into the game.
Shea Gordon made his way to Solitude after Chris Gallagher signed for Lauren. We heard pre-match that Jim Agilton felt he just needed a few minutes, a few games to get in the swing of things. Played 90 against Loughgall in the Irish Cup on Saturday. Confirmation today The BBC iPlayer will show live coverage of Cliftonville against Portadown in the quarter-finals of the Irish Cup in a couple of weeks' time.
That's better from Cliftonville. You know, they've worked the ball around the back and out the other side, and they've kept possession there, and they've won themselves a corner. And it just takes the sting out of Glentoran for a minute and ask them a few questions, you know, defensively.
It's probably more the Cliftonville we watched for the majority of the season.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's been a slow start to them in this game, but like I said, they'll be delighted. It's still 0-0.
Played half an hour. Doherty's ball in. Easy defended by Clucas. Back in again, it's McCullough who gets his head on it. O'Connor, who's had 3 or 4 chances so far. Probably the first one was the biggest of them. Forced a really good stop from Odamusu. He's been the busier of the 2 goalkeepers as Gormley won't count. Off the woodwork and in from Ronan Hale, but the flag was up very early. It was a super ball in and a really good run from Gormley, but the officials this near side had his flag raised straight away.
It was a fantastic ball in from Ronan Doherty, and you know, I think it's a tight one. I'd like to see it back again, you know, whether he was offside or not. You know, the linesman in a great position, to be fair, to see it, but it's a great ball in, and it just shows you with Cliftonville of that quality. You know, takes a second to score a goal, and you know, Ronan Doherty hasn't been in this game very much as you would expect, you know, a player of his quality, but with that left foot, he's put in a fantastic ball, and that's a big warning to Glentoran.
This is probably the best angle. Oh, it's tight.
Yeah, it's very, very tight.
That is very tight.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell from that angle, but it felt tight at the time. You know, my initial reaction when the ball went in was, you know, I didn't automatically think there's offside there, so it was close, and you know, just from that angle, it's difficult to get a definitive answer.
Maybe next break and play we'll have another look at that one. Here is McGuinness, and I think his own player actually got in his way initially, and it almost let O'Connor win possession back. Here is the young defender who then clears De Hale. It's had to come very deep to get on that ball, and well, the conditions are difficult here, and there's a swirling breeze, but I think that's been a little bit overly generous to Ronan Hale. There's a bit of a miscue from him, and then another one from Junior. Come look back at that chance a moment ago.
It's very, very tight. You know, I think the only way you would be able to definitively say if you had a camera, you know, completely in line with the line at the edge of the 18-yard box, but you know, it was very, very tight. But I think we just have to give the linesman a benefit of the doubt that he was in the best position to be able to see.
Here's Sule. Back with Marcus Kane. Almost everyone inside the Cliftonville half, apart from McCullough and his goalkeeper. McCullough just making sure that there's a little bit of protection back there. Didn't play against Ballymacash on Friday night. Burns was a substitute in that game. Very patient build-up from Warren Finney's side. They've won the last 2 fixtures between these 2 sides at the Oval. In the game so far this season, it was a Niall McGinn winner in September. They give Glentoran all 3 points, and then that 2-2 game just before Christmas, which we watched a little bit early on. Just over 10 minutes to go to half-time. Cliftonville have had a goal ruled out. They've also had a big chance through Ronan Hale, but they've soaked up so much pressure, and Glentoran have had countless opportunities of their own. They dominated the opening 20 minutes of this fixture.
Yeah, the game's just gone a wee bit scrappy over the last sort of 5-10 minutes, and a wee bit of a lull, really, you know, in the game, and after what was a fast-paced start, particularly for Glentoran, and they have just sort of taken their foot off the gas a wee bit.
Well, that suit Cliftonville a little bit, the reset.
I think so, yeah. I think they'll be. I think Jim Magilton will be happy.
Now, was that a back pass? That's certainly the question that the Glentoran players are gesturing towards the referee, but it was a shake of the head from Ben McMaster.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one to know. I think it's probably the only person who knows is young Shay Kearney, who played the ball. It's one of those ones, it's just sort of 50-50, really.
Good footwork from Rory Hale to get away from Clucas. This is it?
No, I don't think so. I think he's just trying to stop the ball getting, you know, going past him out to Johnny Russell. I don't think he's intentionally played that back to the keeper. No, Odamusu maybe should have just put his foot through it and took any question away, but I don't think he was intentionally trying to play it back to the goalkeeper.
Well, the referee agree with you. Here is Sule. Russell plays it in. Junior looking at the back post, and Odamusu was at full stretch. He looked to have that covered, but I'm not sure if he slightly misjudged the flight of the ball. And
yeah, it didn't look like there was any great power initially on the header, and I think he actually it's actually come off Stephen McGuinness, and I'm not sure if it was even maybe on target, but he's taken no chances. And
he scrambled across and got his fingertips to it. Corner kick coming up for Glentoran after that little lull. And headed clear by Kenny. Clucas clips it in, but Kearney's there. Cliftonville really struggling to get out of their own half. Junior. Kenny comes across, free kicks given against him, and he protests his innocence. Probably the question to ask is it a tackle that needs to be made, Colin?
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking, Thomas, just before you said that. He's got Junior going away from goal towards the corner, and he's you know, Junior's almost bought the free kick. He's invited the challenge, and he's gone down, and it's a sort of needless free kick from Cliftonville's point of view. You can see he sees the ball, but it's a definite foul, and a challenge that Luke Kenny didn't need to make. And it's another set piece that they have to try and make sure that they defend.
Burns comes across to the far side. It's going to be an in-swinger, and Cliftonville haven't looked particularly comfortable in situations, I guess, so far. Wilson, there is the opener. It has been coming. Ian Wilson finds a net. It's his second of the season. I mentioned how Glentoran had looked good from set pieces. Wilson powers it home, and Jim Magilton's side go behind and making a few complaints because they had survived countless situations like that already, Colin.
Yeah, it's been coming. And you know, we've touched on it earlier in the half. Set pieces, they've looked vulnerable. You know, you look at Glentoran's team, the two front men, and obviously Aidan Wilson, Marcus Kane, Clucas, big boys who want to go and attack the ball, and Cliftonville just haven't looked comfortable and been able to deal with it. And this man here on the screen, Aidan Wilson's popped up with a great header. You know, I think it's Casey gets caught under the wee bit, mistimes the header, and Aidan Wilson powers it home. It's a great goal from their point of view, and one they very much deserve.
So Cliftonville having to come from behind. They will feel they should have taken the lead themselves after Joe Gormley's effort came off the post, and here is a chance for Ronan Hale. He was a player who actually put the ball in the back of the net, only to see the offside flag up. Gordon. Can Cliftonville respond instantly? Not with a cross like that.
You would expect to see a response now from Cliftonville. They've gone a goal behind, and they were cagey, I think, in the game, and looked a wee bit, not nervous, but just to look a wee bit edgy in the game. And now that they're a goal behind, you would almost expect that they'll come out now and have a wee bit more of a go, and you know, have a real go at Glentoran. They've nothing really to lose now, so they'll have to get after the game.
Cliftonville have the best defensive record in the league, and we've spoken about how settled the side has been. No Luke Turner having moved on. Is that the kind of thing that can, you know, whilst Luke Kenny is a very experienced player who's played across in Scotland, for example, is that the kind of thing that can mess up a winning combination?
I don't think it helps. You know, a player of Luke Turner's calibre leaving, you know, Cliftonville, or if he was at any football club, you'd be a loss. He's a fantastic player. I played with him for 2 years, and he was for a young player, how mature he played. He was outstanding, and he suited that left-sided centre-back of a 3. He suited it perfectly. You know, he was athletic, he could drive and join in and go forward. He was left-footed, obviously. You know, I think Luke Kenny's probably prefers playing on the right-hand side, but, you know, it automatically unsettles straight away where he's playing on his unnatural side, and it just feels uncomfortable. So certainly you take a big player like Luke Turner out of a back 3, you're going to feel the effects of it, and you know, it's difficult for them, but it's something that they have to deal with, and they've got the players to do it. It might just take a game or two to settle down, and like I say, Luke Kenny hasn't played a lot of games either, so he needs to get up to speed very quickly.
Yeah, he's had a long spell out. Obviously played against Loughgall at the weekend, but he's just given away another free kick in a good position. You can see Connor Pepper, former Glentoran player, just warming up under the main stand here. The goal came from this side of the pitch. It's another good delivery. Fisher can't get there, and then Clucas is beaten in the air. Driven forward by Darragh O'Connor, and the touch was a poor one from Bobby Burns. Glentoran simply not giving up on any ball. Tackle comes in from Casey on Wilson in an unfamiliar position. There were quite a few penalty shouts from the supporters, but the referee says no. Clucas trying to make headway. And Casey finds Hale, just trying to relieve a little bit of pressure. Really good pressing from the home side.
It's brilliant play from Sully. You know, Luke McCulloch has been, well, we'll have a look at this. No, it's like he's got the ball. It's a good tackle, but on that occasion there, you seen Luke McCulloch pressing Joe Gormley all the way into, you know, the opposition half, and when the ball eventually went back to the left back and we went forward, Sully had just filled in beautifully for Luke McCulloch and just picked up the pieces, picked up Ronan Hale and swept up in behind Luke McCulloch, and just that sort of game awareness is, you know, is what you need in these situations. But yeah, and it was just, again, just back to Clucas, you know, even the last 5 minutes are just his appetite for the game. You know, it's not been anything spectacular. It's been running around the pitch, you know, strong, aggressive, winning his tackles, winning his 50-50s, and it's just, I think it's just setting the tone for Glentoran brilliantly.
Well, with half-time approaching, they look like they're going to be going into the dressing room with the advantage, but Cliftonville will have other ideas. Gormley, goalkeeper's come a long way off his line, and Gormley trying to lift it over him with his right foot. It was a very difficult skill to master from Gormley, but Webber was in no man's land for a couple of seconds before that.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he'd come off his line there, and I think he maybe thought the ball was going to come through to him, but you know, someone like Joe Gormley, he will spot you off your line, and more times than not he'll make you pay for it. On this occasion, he couldn't quite get the ball out of his feet quickly enough to get the strike off.
Well, there haven't been any draws in this fixture at the Oval for almost a decade. You have to go back to March 2014 for the last time that these two sides were inseparable. That was a scoreless draw back then. Glentoran have the advantage so far this evening, but a long way to go. Casey. To Kearney. Gormley's touch looked like it was going to take him away from his man, but instead it turns out to be a pass to a teammate. Here's Hale.
Great ball. Great
ball in. Player emerging and arriving in the far side, and it's a good stop from Webber. I don't know how much McGuinness actually knew about it. He flung himself at that ball.
I think it might have been a Glentoran player actually, ends up coming off his knee maybe. And towards goal. It's a great save. You know, he gets down low to his right and manages to keep it out. I
think it's Darragh O'Connor perhaps.
Yeah, he's actually done well to track, you know, McGuinness at the back post, and it's just a really difficult ball to deal with, and for someone probably who's not maybe familiar with being in those sort of situations, and between him and McGuinness have turned it towards the Glentoran goal, and Webber's done really well to get down low to his right and keep the ball out.
And for having not really had that much possession, Cliftonville created 3 really good goal-scoring chances.
Yeah, Cliftonville will always create goal-scoring chances with you look at the players, Rory Hale and Ronan and Joe. They've got players with attacking ability. They're always going to create chances. It's just you're trying to limit them to as few as you possibly can, and when the odd chance does come along for them, you're just hoping, from a Glentoran perspective, you're hoping that they don't take them, and you can see why they've scored so many goals this year.
2 minutes of additional time they played at the end of this first half. Soule plays it nicely into the path of the goal scorer Wilson. Still going. Tries to thread it through to Wilson, and Bobby Burns has a goal, and it's ended up finding a way past the Cliftonville goalkeeper. It may well have taken a little bit of deflection, but Burns continues his really good goal scoring form. It's now 4 in his last 5 for the midfielder, right on the stroke of half-time. Perhaps wasn't the cleanest of connections from him, right in the edge of the box, but it squirmed past Otamusu and has doubled Glentoran's advantage.
Yeah, big goal for Glentoran, just on the stroke of half-time to double their advantage, and it's poor from Cliftonville, right throughout. I think Aidan Wilson gets forward too easily, beats his man too easily, and then when they do, Cliftonville have the opportunity to clear it. It's not a great clearance, and Shea Gordon then lets it run, and not aware of Bobby Burns, and Bobby Burns gets a shot off nice and early. Probably, Cliftonville goalkeeper probably wasn't expecting the shot so early, and while it wasn't the greatest strike, he's found the corner. And when you find the corner, when it's low and hard, and you've always got a chance of scoring. And again, I know it's probably nothing more than Glentoran deserve in the basis of the half, and Cliftonville desperately need half-time now to regroup and rejig and rethink things to see how they can approach the second half.
Keane hooks it clear. Can Cliftonville get back into this match before the break? Currently on this right-hand side, has to make do with a throw-in. We mentioned it early on in this game. If you give the likes of Glentoran opportunities to have a pop from the edge of the box, at some stage they're going to hurt you. O'Connor went close a couple of times, but Burns managed to find the net, and that's the final action of a first half that's belonged to Glentoran. Aidan Wilson with the opener, and then in first half stoppage time, Cliftonville did have the ball in the net before the 2 Glentoran strikes. Is this offside for you? We'll obviously slow this down again just to show you as the ball's played in by Doherty. It was Hale who fires into the net, but there's a still.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Initially, I never even considered offside. In live, when the goal was scored live, I think Luke Wilson's back foot there, you can see he's probably playing Joe onside, and it's difficult for the linesman because Luke's trying to step up and Joe's going the other way. So in that split second, it may have looked offside, but certainly from that picture, when Ronan Doherty makes contact with the ball, it certainly looked like Luke McCulloch's left foot was playing Joe on.
I know what he would say. We may show him the still, but that's just the way he is. There's David Fisher alongside him. Cliftonville are going to make a change, and it's Stephen Mallon who's going to come on. It's going to be Luke Kenny, I think, who's going to make way, and I'm just having a little look to see if that means there's going to be a rejig in terms of the formation. Is it going to be 4 at the back now for Cliftonville? They've played that very seldom this year. Mallon's actually been a wing back for them on the left-hand side, so he appears to be going across to the right, and Cliftonville look like they're changing formation and have changed their lineup for this second half as they try to get back into this game.
Yeah, they've certainly changed to a 4-3-3. With Steve Mallon playing high and wide on the right-hand side. Like you said, he has played a full-back, or wing-back, a lot this season, but everybody knows Steve Mallon. It's all about what he does in the final third, and I think it was just to fit him in nearly, into that shape that they wanted to play, and by playing him higher in the pitch, he can certainly hurt teams, and you'll see it here in the second half. He'll be very, very direct. He'll get the ball, and this will be a big challenge now for young Russell at left back, a different challenge for him, and he'll have to do a nice solid defensive job on Stephen Mallon. Do
you like that move from Jimmy Chilton?
I do, yeah. I think it was, the other option.
Oh, it's Fisher. Gifted possession by Doherty. And again, Odamusu was trying to get there with every fibre. He looked to be at full stretch, almost wrong-footed by Fisher, who's gone close a couple of times. How close was this one?
Yeah, it was a good strike, and like you say, Odamusu looks like he was struggling to get there, and you know, given that it was from maybe 20-25 yards, it wasn't a great strike, but again, it was along the ground trying to find those corners, and it's difficult for keepers to get down in time to get there. But yeah, just to go back, I think it's a good change from Jim. I think, you know, what they were doing wasn't working, and this will ask different questions, I think, of Glentoran. You know, they've stuck with the 3-5-2, and there might be spaces in those wide areas for Stephen Mallon to get on the ball and get 1v1.
Here he is, in possession. Player of undoubted quality, former Sheffield United player. Was actually touted as potentially being on the verge of an international call-up a couple of seasons ago. Here's Hale. Plays out to Mallon again. Clearly, they want to get him on the ball quickly. One-on-one with Russell, and it's going to be a throw-in for the visitors. Michael Neal, another manager in attendance at tonight's game. Away by O'Connor. Heel. Could well fancy a pop. Oh, that's special. That is special from Ronan Hale, because he had no space at all. He had only one thing in his mind, but the finish to dig that one out, Colin.
Unbelievable.
Very few players are capable of that.
Yeah, and in our league there's very, very few, and in a lot of leagues there's very few. It actually looked like the space had been shut off, and that defender done really well, and he's just dug it out and found that far corner. And the thing about Ronan Hale is everybody knows that's what he's going to do. He loves to come in off the left on that right foot, and I'm sure Warren and every manager in the league has said at some point he'll want to come inside and get shots off, but you can't, it's impossible to stop, and it's a real great strike, and the keeper has no chance, and it's game on now. And the change, like we touched on, the change has worked. It's got Cliftonville back into the game, and we've really got a game on our hands now. But unbelievable.
A penalty in the second half. Out of room for Rory. Scored that goal through Hale as Weber.
Good goalkeeping.
The Cliftonville bench. They made those changes at half-time. Faced just one side in the top 6 in the remaining 6 games before the split. That is a match against Larne. Swept towards the far side by Addis, but it's not going to have enough on it. 5 minutes. The decision has gone Cliftonville's way, and Bobby Burns certainly isn't happy with the decision.
Yeah, I think he was looking for the free kick, you know, in that situation the ball was going out. I think he was looking for the free kick, and to be fair to the referee, I think he was wise to it. And then Stephen Mallon's trying to hurry him along. They're obviously desperate to get on with the game. And yeah, well, it's maybe a bit of I think he is looking for the free kick, and in that situation they're on the clock down.
2 Glentoran players go for the same ball. Picked up by Bobby Burns' brothers, Patrick. Hale lifts it in again. Kane's there, though. Not the best clearance, but it's worked out for Glentoran and McCartan. No real options further forward, so he had to go himself. And the 2 Cliftonville men squeeze possession back. Ashford, Wilson, Addis, he's been the hero already this season, making a nuisance of himself up there. Burns looks forward and tries to find a teammate. McCartan's going to have to go himself. Still McCartan. This would end it. Shane McCartan just wide. Had to take on 3 Cliftonville players and the goalkeeper, and almost managed to do so.
He's done really well to get away from the Cliftonville defenders, and you know, you can see here he cuts across Casey. He can't touch him, and in the end he just drags his shot wide. And it just shows when these situations, it's always nearly the team who's hanging on that almost gets the better chances, just because of the spaces they've got to play in on the counter attack.
Whiteman this time. 3 minutes of injury time remaining. You hear some groans from some of the home supporters. They felt that Glentoran should have held on to the ball there. Cliftonville pump it forward. Casey beats Clucas in the air. Throw in the Cliftonville. If it stays like this, there would be 5 points between Cliftonville and Linfield, 4 between themselves and Larne. Every point at this stage, even at this point of the season in February, crucial. In such a tight title race, Addis jumps with the goalkeeper. It's dropped in the free kick. Goes away of Glentoran for the subsequent challenge.
You can see Sully's not happy with Jay Donnelly, and I think a few of the boos are being sort of directed at Jay. Maybe not. You know, the ball goes up and he's sort of caught on his heels, and he needs to get in front of the centre half to hold the ball for his team. But I think the keeper's fortunate enough to get a free kick there, but he hangs on to it in the end. But yeah, Sully certainly wasn't happy with Jay Donnelly there, and that lack of being able to hold the ball for his team. But and in saying that's difficult for Jay Donnelly coming on as a sub to get up to the speed of the game. And I think Jay Donnelly's struggling with an injury.
Yeah, certainly looks like that. He's limping fairly heavily, only back from a long injury layoff. And this could well be the final chance for Cliftonville. Wilson, found by Addis, who's continued his run into the middle. Casey flung himself at it. Hale, still bodies in there. And they find the equaliser.
Casey.
It's Casey again. He popped up against Carrick Rangers in the dying seconds, and he's left it even later here. The late show from Cliftonville strike again. It was Johnny Addis who secured 3 points against Uri. It was Casey against Carrick. It won't be a win here in East Belfast, but it looks like the unbeaten run is going to continue. They were 2 goals down after the first half, but Jim Magilton's side simply haven't given up.
No, it's unbelievable stuff, you know, to have the character to keep going, and Casey again pops up with a big goal in the last minute. And yeah, it's crazy stuff. But you have to commend the character and the desire to keep going, and you know, it's a big point for them. And it's not even the point. It's like you said, it's that unbeaten run continues and that momentum they've got, you know, going forward. This was always going to be a difficult game for them. To come away from this with a point tonight would be big for them, given how the game has panned out.
And it's a hammer blow for Glentoran, who've been ahead for so much of this game and have been in control. They had that McCartan chance seconds ago that would have secured it for themselves. Cliftonville were brave. They threw Addis up. They threw up Oren Casey, and it's paid off again.
Yeah, and to be fair to Cliftonville, you have to do that at this stage of the game. You might as well lose 3-1, 4-1, and then go out with a whimper. You know, you have to throw everything at it, and they've done that, and it looks like they're going to get at least a point out of it.
Well, I assumed it was going to be a point because I thought the whistle was going to sound shortly after. It hasn't. And it's Soulé who finds Burns can't. Glentoran find a winner themselves. Soulé, still Soulé. Donnelly, brilliant stuff from the goalkeeper. What a save from Onamusu. And we continue, we keep playing. Mallon takes on Russell. That's really good defending now at this stage of the game from him.
Brilliant defend. That's us.
It's a final action. It's a game that had just about everything. The managers hugging the edge of the technical area. There are no celebrations from either of them. I think it's going to take them a little bit of time to digest that game. It had just about everything, and I'm going to let you try and do that.
Oh, brilliant game of football. You know, 2 each, and it had everything. You know, last minute winners, penalties, disputed penalties.